This is formatting strings in Python. In this screencast, I'm going to show you how to format strings in Python. Formatting is an interesting topic. It's evolved in Python in the last few years. A lot of times you run across older code in Python that uses different techniques to format strings, but basically the premise is the same, where you have two or more strings that you need to combine. This is a very common operation to have to do in any programming language. Python has some very sophisticated and efficient tools for doing this kind of thing. I'm going to show you the modern way to do this. I'm going to show you the method that Python has made since the version of Python version 2.6, which is actually at this point about 4 years old. So it's not really that new, but you don't see it used as often. It has the benefit, though, of being easier. There's less thinking that you have to do to be able to take one piece of text and plug it into another one. I think that the technique that I'm going to show you, the 2.6 and later technique for formatting strings using a template pattern, is also not only is it easier, it's pretty efficient, and I think it's also very readable too. I think it's very good in terms of being able to see what's going on at a glance without having to break your brain too much about what's actually happening, and most importantly, you don't have to know what data types are going on there. You basically say, here's a variable, here's a template string, format it all together and make it one beautiful piece of string. And so that's what I'm going to show you today. Okay, so I am back on my desktop now, and I have my terminal application on the left, and I have a text editor on my right. Now, I have the ability to print text pretty easily, and each time I do this, I'll make a change to the script. I will save it, and then I'll run it over here. Okay, so it runs it and it prints out the static piece of text that I typed in here. Now, Jeffrey obviously is not going to be the name of every person I'm going to want to say hello to. The person who runs the script may have their own name, and so I'll make the name a variable, and I'm going to call this Jeffrey. This is a very common pattern, although this is obviously a little simplified and contrived here. Now, the idea here is I want to substitute the value of this variable into this string right here. And so to do that, I'm going to use a field. And the way to type a field in Python is to type a curly brace, a digit, and another curly brace. And the digit tells Python the order in which you want these to be substituted. In fact, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to make this a variable as well too, so that I give you the sort of standard way of doing this first. And then I'm going to use the format function of the string object to be able to print all this out. So I have two variables now, the name, which is Jeffrey, and the template, which is the text that doesn't change from one to the next. Okay, so I'm going to say now print template.format, and in the parameter to the format function here, you're going to supply some information here. So you'll say name, right? So what this says is take this template string, format it, and replace all of these fields that are in curly braces with the data that I'm about to send you. And the data here can be as many things as you want. If I had more data to plug in here, I could add it as well too. Right? And I could just keep going and going and going with as many arguments to this format function as I wanted to separated by commas. In this case, I only have one piece of data, so that's how I'm going to do it. I'll save the string again, go back, run it again, and I should get the same result. Now this gives me some interesting possibilities. I can change the variable and I don't have to change the template, right? I save it again, I go back, and you can see that the output changes. Again, this is really simple. This is a super trivially oversimplified version, but the idea at this point is to show you the basic pattern of string interpolation and field substitution. And you can see that it's very clear what's going on once you understand that format takes the data in parentheses and plugs it into this template string, right? Now there's one more option that you can use here, which is that you can name these parameters as well too. So I'm going to do this the named way, and so I'll say recipients Did I spell that right? No. I before E except after C? Yes. How about person's okay, so this makes it even more readable. We've replaced this 0 with an actual bit of text. And when we do this, we have to change the parameters of what we're passing to the format function. Now we have to say the name of the field, persons underscore name equals, and then the value to the right of the equal sign in this version of the syntax has to be an expression, which could be string literal, it could be a variable, it could be some other kind of expression, but 99 times out of 100 it's going to be the name of some variable, in which case it's name, which we defined up here, right? So basically it's the same thing as before. We have a variable called name, which is the variable information that's going to go in the text. We have the template, which doesn't change from one call to the next. And then I print this out, making a call to the format function that's owned by the string object, of which template is one. And then I say, this field is going to be equal to this value. And again, if we had some other stuff like, person's address, if there was another field in there called person's address, we could say address and just continue chaining those together by separating them with commas, right? But we don't have that for now. We're going to keep this simple. I'll save this again and go back here, and you should be able to see that it's the exact same thing again. And again, I can change the values, run it again, and you can see the output is different. Really, really simple. It's important to have a handle on how this works because we're going to be going back to it again and again throughout the class. This will be the standard way that we interpolate text. We're not going to use any of the old school Python methods for sticking text in a string, and we're definitely not going to use concatenation. Concatenation is covered in your text, but we're not going to use it for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's messy. Number two, it's slow. In Python and in a lot of languages, concatenating or lumping together two pieces of string, two strings, is very slow because it has to create a whole new string out of the other two strings, which causes it to have to allocate memory and do all kinds of other stuff. Interpolation, much more efficient, and that's why we use it, in addition to the fact that it's more sanitary coding, it's easier to read, it's probably, I would say, easier to write as well too. So that will be the standard way that we handle text throughout the course.